and start recording now. Okay, so let's go ahead and get going. Tammy, Will, are you on?
Yep, I'm on.
All right. Well, first of all, everybody, welcome to the beginning of our season, I think. So we've all been waiting for this time and excited to get things rolling and get things moving. And I know all the kids are excited about getting back to seeing some people and that type of thing. So we just want to get together, kind of update you on where the boosters are as far as an organization, and then get into how we're going to accomplish this and do it safely and do it in a way that's going to benefit everybody. So Tammy, go ahead and start. If you can just give us a quick overview of the financials and also remind us of when the that first payment is going to be due this year.
Okay, all right. Good evening, everybody. All right, in our checking account, we have right at $43,000, and then in our savings, we have right at about $20,000. While that seems like a large amount of money, it really isn't. We've got some hefty payments going out. So I need everybody to, if you haven't paid that initial deposit, please, please, please make that initial deposit. I think we had extended that to July 1st. Is that correct, John? So we've met that date now, so those initial deposits are due now. That was $150. Also, we are needing those health forms in because if you're going to be attending band camp, which I hope you are, we have to have those health forms. And I also would like to remind everybody to try to log into Charms. I want to make sure everybody has access to that so you can see where your account stands. If you have issues, I will help get your password reset. That's about all I have. If you ever have questions, feel free to reach out. I'm usually pretty responsive on the emails. You can even text me if you would like. That's it as far as I got.
And Tammy, I believe the actual due date is the 10th, which is next Friday.
Is it the 10th? Okay. I knew it was right at the beginning of July, so I wasn't sure. Sorry.
That gives everybody
July 10th.
Band camp to get that first week of band camp to get that turned in.
Sorry.
That's all right. All right. Anything else? Are there any questions? Questions on there regarding the? I'm trying to look at the chat while I'm talking. Regarding the any other questions about finances? She can't be leaning on me. All right, we're going to go ahead and head into and I know a couple of people have suggested I move up to the business license. When I did that, the least amount that it would let me do is $199 a month. I would do it for the $19.99, but the $200 a month is a little steep for me. So anyways, we're going to move on to the fundraising. So Terry, are you out there?
I'm out here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We have got our laundry detergent fundraiser starting this month with the first date of band camp. I'm going to get those forms to Mr. Farmer, and he'll be passing those out as he has the kiddos on Monday. If you have any questions about it, give me a call. It'd be great if we could have more participation than we have in the past. It's a really nice fundraiser, really nice product. We could really use the extra money with more participation. That's what we've got going on for that. And my phone number is all over that. I would ask you, please remember to put your phone number and your name on the forms. If you have any questions about how to collect the money or get the money to me, let me know. I will be at band camp most of the second week. I'm on vacation that week. So if you need me, find me. And of course, I'll be there every evening the first week as well. And that's all I've got on that.
Okay, great. And due dates and everything like that are going to be on those forms. We will make those forms available over on the website as well. So if you happen to lose it, it will be there for download as well.
Yes, I asked me to put in there. We're going to sell the first 2 weeks. So the end of that first week is going to be very important that I get them back because I want to get it on a specific date. So I need to get everything back as soon as possible by the due date, please.
And that's a great fundraiser because you can do a lot of that over text as well as email and Facebook. So great fundraiser, and everybody needs soap, especially in these times. So anyways, all right, Michael, is there anything you wanted to add about what's going on with Secretary?
No, I don't have too much to say other than I will be putting together, after some final confirmation after the meeting. For one, I'll get the recording out as soon as I can so that people can see that, and then I'll be sending out an email, and in that email we'll be describing the forms. The forms will be attached. There'll be a link to the safety video that we should be watching, and there'll be the fall schedule as well as the July schedule. There's be a lot of information in that one email that'll come out either tonight or first thing in the morning.
Okay, great. All right. Seeing no questions on the chat side, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the fun stuff. So I'm going to let Mr. Farmer take it from here and talk. One of the things I just want to make a note of is he's going to be talking about a lot of stuff. It is going to be available for you on that email as well as through the recording. If you need to go back and revisit it, please do. It's very important that you all maybe take some notes on what all we're going to need to do as we go through these next few weeks, as well as make sure that we have all the right forms turned in. The biggest thing that Mr. Farmer's probably going to talk about is health forms, because if you show up and you don't have a health form in, we cannot take the liability of having the kids there without the health form. So you will have to go home if you don't have it there the first day. So Mr. Farmer, take it over.
Okay, everybody, good evening, and thank you for attending this meeting either live or watching the recording after the fact. Like John said, everything that I say is going to be reposted in a video that I've actually already recorded. But just so you know, before I begin my spiel, I'm actually going to kind of read from a script because there is a lot of information here that you need to know, and I want to make sure that I cover it. And this is going to be for both parents and students. So students, if you've been on your phone or whatever, I need you to kind of pay attention here because this is me speaking to you as well. So obviously, we're in a pandemic, okay? And so the EVSC, along with the directors and the teachers and the Evansville Health Department have been working very carefully and very closely to establish guidelines and protocols so that we can operate our band camps safely and efficiently. And before I even start talking about the procedures, I want to take a moment to emphasize how important it will be that we follow these protocols like to a T perfectly. As teachers and as parents and as adults, the safety of our children and our students is by far our greatest concern. And especially as the largest student group in the EVSC, we have to work very hard to keep each other safe. To that end, we've created these protocols with that in mind. The other thing we have to keep in mind is that we're going to be one of the first student groups that is meeting together in person since March. When schools shut down, nothing happened, and then band camp's going to be the very next thing that's happening. So really all eyes are going to be on us to kind of get an idea of how school goes in the fall. So the expectation is going to be that every single parent, student, staff member, everybody around is taking those procedures seriously at all times because, again, number one, safety is most important, and number two, the EVSC's eyes will be on us, as will the communities. So, over break, you might have taken a vacation with another family, or you might have seen friends at a graduation party or birthday party, and you might have spent a great deal of time with other students in the marching band. Or families. You may feel like it's not a big deal to stand closer than 6 feet near these people or give them hugs and fist bumps, but we all have to remember all the time that we are setting an example. So for students, just like the rules at home may be different than the rules that we have at school, social distancing is going to be the number one thing that we're talking about at band camp in regards to keeping us safe. Okay, so again, even if your neighbor is in band and you hang out with them every day, that's all well and good for you to do outside of band. But when you're at band camp, it's 6 feet from everybody all the time, because we want to be safe, we want to set a good example, and all that good stuff. So with that being said, as we jump into these rules, these procedures, do remember that like all other rules, it's kind of overwhelming at first, but just like other school rules, those things feel very easy, very fast. We remember the very first day that we have rules and we have to learn them all. And, at first that sounds like a lot, and then we get used to it and it's no big deal. But no matter what, we're not going to let that get in the way of a successful season, because safety is the most important thing, but so is having a great experience. So before rehearsal each day, and this is per EVSC guidelines, all students will be required to complete a COVID self-screening before every rehearsal. Now, that doesn't mean you have to turn anything in every day. It just means that you have to ask yourself, do I have, the questions will be sent out and posted, but it's like, do I have a fever? Do I have, have I been around people with symptoms? Do I have symptoms myself? And if the answer to any of those is yes, then, well, you can't attend rehearsal that day, because obviously when you're sick, you don't want to get other people sick. So the way that you're going to say, no, I don't have any symptoms, or no, I don't have a fever of 100.4 degrees, I believe it is simply by attending. So if you show up that says, hey, I have acknowledged that I answered all these questions to the best of my ability, and I am good to be here. The next thing is sharing will not be allowed at all of anything. So everybody at band camp should have adequate water, sunscreen, chalk, and hand sanitizer. In order to prevent the spread of germs, we can't be sharing all of our stuff. We can't share that stuff. And if you're somebody with a hardship and you can't get those materials, we can help you with that. But we do expect that everybody has everything they need with them each day. Specifically with the sunscreen, I would recommend getting a bottle of spray sunscreen, because that allows you to get like your back a little bit easier, and you don't have to have friends help you or whatever. Then the other thing is with water jugs is we won't have opportunity to fill those. Normally your kid could come in the middle of the day, fill up with, at the drinking fountain, but those are all shut off right now here at school. And we also won't be offering those big jugs like you've seen before. Now, the good news is our rehearsals are much shorter. We're not going 8 hours a day. We're going 4 hours at a time. Then we're going home and coming back. So you don't need to bring 8 hours of water, but definitely need water for 2 to 4 hours. Also, it will be helpful if you happen to have a printer at home to print off the music and bring it like in a binder or folder. Wind players, you guys already have music. Drumline, percussion, you'll be getting it soon. If you can print that off ahead of time, once you get it, that would be helpful. I will have printed music for you there, but one less thing that I have to pass from me to you, the better. The next thing, let's talk about masks. Students should bring masks every day to rehearsal. Students and staff will wear masks, face shields, or face coverings at all times when not playing an instrument. Exceptions will only be made if a student happens to have trouble breathing during a strenuous activity, like will allow them to kind of step away, take their mask off, catch their breath, come back in with their mask. If you don't happen to have a mask or you need help with that, please contact me once again. We have parents who are willing to sew some masks, or we can pick some up and get that for you. So we will have that provided should you need it. Also, face shields will be available later in the month. We've ordered those. They're kind of cool because they clip like onto your hat like this, and it's a little bit less restrictive, but still pretty safe. Now let's talk about during rehearsal. During rehearsal, obviously students are going to maintain social distancing at pretty much all times. Like I said, face coverings will be required unless the individual is playing an instrument. And then all material should stay with the student at all times. During visual rehearsal, we'll give them a spot to set their stuff on the ground that will be 6 feet away from the next spot and all that good stuff. but otherwise it will be kept with the students at all time. If possible, it would be helpful for students to set up their instruments like at their car, leave the case at the car, and then just carry their instrument and their reeds or oil or whatever around with them. Just so it's one less thing for them to carry. Otherwise, they'll be carrying their cases with them as well. Drumline and low brass will be allowed to store their instruments and cases either on the semi or in the school building. But everybody else will have to have their instruments and equipment with them at all times. And that equipment and instruments will go home at the end of each day with you. They can't stay at school. And again, that is to limit the amount of time we're going inside. So the research tells us overwhelmingly that it is safer to be outside than it is to be inside. So unless there is inclement weather, we will be outside at all times to prevent the spread of germs. The only exception to this will be made for if we have to store large instruments, like I said, or if a student needs to use the restroom or needs to get out of the heat if they're extremely overheated, or if there is inclement weather. And then when we go inside for any of those reasons, if those reasons occur, we will still utilize social distancing and masks because again, the research says that being outside is far safer than inside, and that's another reason why we modified our rehearsal schedule, was so that we could stay outside and not go inside. Unless volunteering, adults are asked to remain in their vehicles at all times. You are welcome to stay in your vehicle and park and watch rehearsal. That's totally fine, but we ask that you stay in your car just to limit, one more person on the campus. So that's pretty much my spiel. The one last thing I'd like to talk about is I'd like to go over the first week of band camp, because that's the one that's kind of odd. If you look at the schedule, like each section is required to report at a different time. The reason why we're doing it that way is we felt it would be easier to practice these new protocols in small groups. So instead of having all 160 kids show up at the same time, it's much easier to say, all right, 15 kids in the clarinet section, we're going to talk about how we're going to do this month. So here's what that means for you is if your student, for example, is in the flute section, that means you need to have your student at school at 1:50 p.m. and you're going to park in the normal parking lot where you would normally drop off for band camp, which is the parking lot adjacent to the band practice field where the semi-trailer is. There will be plenty of people out there when you get there showing you where to park, so that's not too big of a concern. But what's going to happen then is, let's say you're in the flute section, at 1:50, a volunteer is going to say, okay, flutes, go ahead and get out of your cars, grab all your stuff, and you're going to line up 6 feet apart, and I'm going to walk you to music rehearsal. Then that volunteer is going to walk with the flute section to music rehearsal. We're going to have music for about an hour, and then that volunteer will walk them to visual rehearsal, and then we'll have visual rehearsal, and then that volunteer will walk them back to the cars at, I think it's 4 o'clock when flutes get picked up. And it's going to be the same deal for all of wind instruments, percussion, and color guard. You guys actually have a different spot. Your parking lot is going to be over by the other practice field. And again, there will be signs, there will be maps and all that stuff posted on Facebook and sent out. So we'll have that for you. But that's how that's going to go. And again, the reason is that we want to kind of ease into these new protocols in smaller groups. One last thing I want to say before I look at your questions, and I'm sure you probably do have some questions. If there's anything in here that makes you feel kind of nervous or uncomfortable or whatever, please feel free to contact me after we're done. You can send me an email or something of the like, and we can talk about precautions further. And then also, if you've sat here and you've listened to all these precautions and it still doesn't feel safe for your student, please, again, contact me and we can discuss, possible alternatives, virtual assignments or whatever. That way we can keep your students engaged with marching band. But I do want everyone to keep this in mind, that we are going to be following every protocol and procedure, at least that the EVSC sets up. So the safety protocols that are going to be instated during the school day are the same ones that we're going to be practicing at band camp. And then when we get into the fall at rehearsal. So, you know, I don't want you to feel like we're doing something different than the EVSC. We're doing the same thing that the entire EVSC is doing, as well as the same thing as all of the other marching bands in the EVSC, and I believe also in the surrounding area. So please keep in mind that it's not just this, you know, 27-year-old band director who came up with all these rules. I've been working with my boss and my boss's boss to create this stuff to be aligned with the EVSC protocol that they've developed. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of look at the chat here. So yeah, the first question is, are masks going to be required? Yes, they are. Again, because the research shows that the way that we can stay the safest is by wearing masks. You know, again, if a student gets in a spot where they, you know, have trouble breathing or whatever, we'll ask them to, you know, walk away from the practice field, take their mask off, catch their breath, and then come back when they're ready. But again, because we want to stay safe, and the research says that it's going to keep us safe, masks are required. Can siblings share? I think that came up whenever I was talking about like sunscreen stuff. I'm okay with siblings sharing stuff like, you know, sunscreen or whatever, but that social distancing thing still needs to be adhered to. So even if you're in band with your sibling, still got to keep 6 feet when you're at band. But I'm not going to require you to have, you know, Tommy's and Jill's own sunscreens. I'm cool with you guys sharing. Are students still turning in ThinkPads Monday? That is a great question, and I will have to find that out. Because some things have changed since then. So I will get that question answered, and then we will send that out with the rest of our information. So for Skyla, in your case, your sister and you are dropped off at the same time because of pit and color guard. Well, that's okay. You'll just either drop off at the color guard spot first and then drive you around, and you can drop off at the percussion spot or vice versa. We will get you squared away that way. Oh, okay. Amy Woodward says we are not collecting Chromebooks on Monday. Thank you, Amy. Okay, and again, I know that was a lot. This will all be reposted. Another video of me talking through that with the map will be posted as well. But I want everybody here to know that we will always be open for communication. Okay, so if anybody feels off or whatever, or has a question, please feel free day or night to send me a message, and I will respond to the best of my ability as fast as I can. Because I know there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in all this stuff, and you know, because it's your kids and it's our kids, and we want to keep you safe. Kathy Tanner, the earliest can be dropped off at school. I'm planning to be here by 7 at the very latest, but if you need something earlier than that, we can talk about it. But I'm planning to have the building open by 7.
But we are trying to not go into the building, correct?
That's correct. Yes. So, yeah.
Any additional questions for Mr. Farmer? I'm going to touch on a few things, and so you guys are going to receive an email here in a little bit. It's going to have a video of Mr. Farmer going over a lot of the same things that he's already talked about here tonight, but it does go back through the safety procedures and that type of thing. Also in that email is a link that you need to click on and submit that you or verify that you have watched that safety video. So there's a place on there that you type in your name, you check yes, I've watched the video, and then you submit it, and then that form will be submitted back to us. The health forms, again, we need those in. If you have not sent those in, we need to get those in or bring them with you the first day. We just need those, very important. There's also a sign up out there that Mary has put out. There's a donation sign up for different things to be donated, as well as volunteers needed for these 4 weeks of band camp. So if you can, if you have time and are capable and able to stay during when your kids are there or something of that sort, you're welcome to do that. There's things as little as kind of sitting by the restrooms and cleaning things up after each kid goes in. There's, walking the kids from station to station. There's different things. It's nothing really hard, but we need everybody to step up and participate in that as well. Our goal is to make this as fun as we can during this pandemic, and as safe as we can, so that your kids get to get back into band some, get that experience there again, and can move forward. So we're all looking forward at getting this band season started, and hoping that we continue this band season throughout the fall and move things forward so that the kids can have some memories. Any other questions? There's a couple other questions that popped up. What if the child will be late to practice due to parents' work schedule? I'm gonna let you answer.
So if you happen to be late, well, what you'll have to do is you'll have to be smart about getting into your group. If you show up and you're late, just catch up with your group, stay 6 feet away from everybody, wear your mask, and then just jump right into the fold. Hopefully you can make it on time. But again, if you happen to be late or whatever, just the rule of thumb is stay 6 feet away from everybody else as you get to where you're supposed to be. About uniforms to wash, yeah, that would be fine. They can be dropped off. We can just stick them on the semi for the time being, since it'll be at the same spot. That'll work for me. John, you mentioned the video form. I'm glad you did. Within this email that is coming out, there is a form that all students are going to be required to submit that says that they've understood all of these precautions and, either watch the video or have been in this meeting and watched this video. You'll need to have that turned in electronically by Monday of camp. Again, if you don't have that turned in either, then you can't be at camp. So the two things are going to be that video, yes, I watched it form, and the health form. And then in regards to the volunteers, if you're signing up for something you're not sure what it is, you can send me an email. Once we get the volunteers filled out, I will contact you all sometime this weekend and kind of give you like the rundown of what we need you to do. But it won't be a big deal. And Catherine, we will get all that figured out. It says please print. That is kind of an archive from last year. You can do it either way. You can either print it and turn it into me at rehearsal, or you can fill it out and scan it in, or whatever you want to do. Yes, good question. Lindsay, that email was sent out when we had different information. There was a time when we thought that students would have to report via Google form every single day before camp. That has changed. So no, there is no longer a daily medical form, just the health form, and then the yes, I watched the video form will do.
Okay, with that being said, thank you all for joining. That's awesome that we maxed out the 100.
There were earlier questions. Did we go through the chat all the way back to address all the questions?
I believe so. I believe we hit all of them. I was trying to keep track of them so that we made sure that we covered them all.
And John, we do have one more thing to cover. We are fortunate to be able to welcome our newest director, Mr. Jacob Carpenter. He is somewhere on this giant call. Jacob Carpenter, oh, there he is. He just popped up. He is originally from Ohio. He marched with the Blue Star Drum Corps, and he was also a conductor there. And now he is a mellophone tech. And so that is super cool to have some drum corps teaching chops on our staff. And so we are excited to welcome him. So Jacob, if you want to say hi real quick.
Yeah, hey guys. I'm super excited to meet you guys and get to work with you all. It's going to be an exciting and interesting time no matter what. So just a little bit more about me. I'm originally from the Cincinnati area, and I did my bachelor's degree at the University of Kentucky. And then I actually was fortunate enough to come back and teach as a band director for a couple years in the school where I attended. And then I just finished up my master's degree after a full-time stint in music education at Bowling Green State University up in Northwest Ohio. And I've actually known Mr. Dwight for a couple years because we used to judge marching band contests together. And I actually judged 2 shows in Evansville this past fall. I was at Harrison and Central. So I got to see you guys there. So I'm super excited to meet you guys and get to work with you. And it's going to be an exciting time no matter what.
Awesome. Well, welcome, and we're glad to have you, and looking forward to having a great year. So thanks for accepting and joining with us. So
yeah, I'll need to get Jacob and maybe Noah. I know you can get this. I'll need to get his contact data so that I can kind of get that out there and get that posted so people can get contacted with him if we need to.
Okay. All right.
The email that you sent out, can you go ahead and put the laundry detergent form on that too?
I can try. Do we have it out there already, or are you going to email it? Did you
I
emailed
sent an
me
email
that the other day?
of the week.
Okay. Yep.
Thanks.
Okay, well, with nothing else on our agenda, thank you all for joining us. We will make this recording available to everybody else that missed it, or if you want to watch it again, or the recordings on the email, definitely watch those and sign off that you did watch them. So everybody, we're great. We're so excited that we get to have a band season this year. There was a couple times in which we thought, aren't we? We don't know. Who knows? But we're going to get started and do the best we can with it. So everybody, have a great night. Let's go Green Brigade. Where to leave the meeting? I need to stop recording.